Imagine looking up at the night sky, and instead of seeing only the moon and stars, you saw a giant glowing ring stretching across the sky. Not clouds, not an aurora, a huge belt of ice, rock, and dust wrapped around Earth. It would look beautiful, but it would also change life on our planet in ways most people don't realize. So what would Earth actually be like if it had rings like Saturn? First, the rings would not float randomly around us. They would most likely sit around Earth's equator. That means people in different parts of the world would see them differently. Near the equator, the rings might look like a thin, bright line across the sky. But farther north or south, they could look like a giant glowing arch rising above the horizon. At night, the rings would reflect sunlight, so some nights might not feel fully dark. Imagine walking outside at midnight and still seeing the ground softly lit by a huge silver band in the sky. Before streetlights, this would have changed human history. Ancient people may have used the rings to navigate. They may have built calendars around them. They may have created myths, religions, and stories about them. Instead of looking at the moon and wondering what it was, humans may have looked at the rings and asked, "What is that giant bridge in the sky?" But the rings would not only be beautiful, they would also be dangerous. A ring system is made of countless pieces of ice, dust, and rock. Some pieces could be tiny, others could be huge, and all of them would be moving around Earth at incredible speed. This would make space travel much harder. Satellites would need to avoid the ring zone. The International Space Station might not be possible in some orbits. At night, the rings would reflect sunlight, so some nights might not feel fully dark. Imagine walking outside at midnight and still seeing the ground softly lit by a huge silver band in the sky. The rings could also affect Earth's climate, because rings cast shadows, not everywhere at once. But during certain times of the year, parts of the rings could block sunlight from reaching the surface. That means some areas might get less sunlight, temperatures could change, plants, animals, and farmers would notice. Even small changes in sunlight can affect ecosystems. Some regions might experience strange shadow patterns across the land. Others might see brighter nights for much of the year. So Earth with rings would be beautiful, but not simple. There is also another problem. The rings could make astronomy harder, because they would reflect light into the night sky. That extra brightness could make it harder to see faint stars, distant galaxies, and deep space objects. So the same rings that make Earth look magical could also hide part of the universe from us. But where would Earth's rings even come from? There are a few possibilities. Maybe a moon got too close to Earth and was torn apart by gravity. Maybe a huge asteroid broke apart near our planet. Or maybe, long ago, debris from a giant collision stayed around Earth instead of forming one large moon. Over millions of years, the rings would change. Some pieces might fall into Earth's atmosphere and burn up as meteors. Some pieces might collide. Some might clump together. The rings might slowly thin out, shift, or even disappear. So Earth's rings may not last forever. But while they existed, they would completely change how humans saw the world. Our art would be different. Our religions might be different. Our calendars might be different. Even romance would be different. Instead of saying, "Look at the moon," people might say, "Look at the rings." So would Earth be better with rings like Saturn? Visually, yes. It would be one of the most beautiful sights in the solar system. But practically, it would cause serious problems. Space travel would be harder. Satellites would be harder to use. Some regions might get strange shadows. The night sky would be brighter, and human culture would grow under a completely different sky. Earth with rings would look magical, but living here would be more complicated, because sometimes the most beautiful things in the universe come with consequences.